All right, thank you everyone for joining us today for the seminar. We have our new clients here, and we also have some people joining us from Zoom. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll start the seminar. Firstly, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Yinjie. I'm from China and currently working for CSI. For this seminar, we're going through majorly two parts. The first part is for our I would say non-immigrants or international candidates who hasn't been working here for too long or doesn't have any experience here. We'll give you an employment guidance. Second part is about immigration. Of course, everyone here is aiming for maybe a green card or like a work experience. We want to tell you all the information you need, and hopefully by the end you will get an idea about the roadmap, how you can start from your current status all the way to green card. And now let's start. During the seminar, if you feel I'm too fast, if you want us to slow down a little bit, feel free to ask so. But if you have some questions, we recommend you to have a notebook with you so that you can have all the questions documented and ask us at the end of the seminar. For people who don't know us much, CSI Professionals, we're an employment agency specialized in immigration. We have been in this industry for 29 years, and it's going to be our 30th year in September. So quite a long time. We've been seeing like up and down. So right now we're having a recession. We've been seeing that recession, similar recession for 2 or 3 times. Also the 9/11 terrorist attack, all those things impact the immigration costs a lot. So what we want to tell you here is don't panic because don't panic if you're finding difficulty finding a job. We're here for you. That's why we want to give you this small seminar. For our partner companies, they are in different fields. We have partners from the law firms or let's say investment. We always have lots of jobs. It's about how we can match your background with the position. And we'll explain how it works later on. For our Vice President, Ms. Marge Ordiales, she used to be an international student. And this is why we are telling our clients, don't worry, we know what you're going through because ourselves, we also go through the same path. So whenever Ms. Marge, she graduated from UCLA like 29 years ago, she also found her passion assisting people like her who are non-immigrants but has American dream. So she's been dedicating for almost 30 years in this industry, got her law degree and everything, so she can support everyone here in the office and also our Zoom attendees. She always tells us to deliver good and deliver sincerely with grace, great gratitude, the 3G. And what we mean by here is we want you to know this whole journey, getting green card, it can take 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 years. It is not just a process of you get your money done and you're set. There's lots of preparation mentally or even physically, like commute. There's maybe lots of challenge on the way when you're getting there. But keep your hope and remember we're here with you. If there's any question we can answer, just chat with us, call us, email us. We'll try to respond to you. We're with you all the way. All right, now we're getting into the actual topic. As I mentioned, we have 2 parts, the employment guidance and the roadmap to green card. For here, I will start with the employment guidance. This is specifically designed for people who just came here and don't know much. Even you have 20 years, 30 years experience back in your home country, there's still something we hope you can keep in mind. And here are the subtopics we're going to cover for this first section. Firstly, the positions and eligibility. If you have a chance to look into our website, you may find so many positions. You can just search CSI Professionals. That's how you can search for our positions. Oh, hi. I haven't seen you for a while. How are you? Good. Please give me 1 second. We'll assist our in-person client for a second. And also rules and they will assist me later on. You can just wait here while you're waiting. Thank you for waiting. We have our old clients joining us today as well. You already go through the seminar, no worry about it. We just want to emphasize a little bit more on the H1B later on for you. So you can just have this as a review session while waiting for your consultation. Anyway, let's get back to the seminar. You may find all the positions description on our website. The reason we're providing so many kinds of position is we believe like no matter you're like a fresh graduate or like a professional in another country, there's a lot to learn in America. That's why all the positions here are entry level. We give you some time to adjust yourself into the American workforce. At least you should have a bachelor degree, not only just to show you are capable of adapting fast, but also this is really crucial for us to start the visa application later on. What we want to emphasize here is you can be really smart or you need some time, it's fine. What we really care is about your attitude. We can have a lot to learn, we need you to learn. So if you're hardworking, you're always open to learn, open to criticizing, or let's say you have a right work ethic, there's something we can work on. But if you are, let's say, being absent all the time, late for your work, or let's say leave early, those things reflect your work ethics. And imagine this whole process to get a green card. You need your employer to sponsor you. And the employer doesn't like you, we cannot do anything for you. That's why maintain your good attitude, your work ethics is super important. And that's how we can actually help you to move on for any kind of positions. Second part is for our candidates who hasn't gone through the final interview with our employer. Don't worry about this. This is what we try to prepare you for. We believe everyone here has amazing stories, campaigns, or projects you have been working on in the past. What you want to focus on is to make the story, make your past experience more relevant to the current company you are working for, or let's say the new company. And this is the strategy, the format we have, the STAR format. You want to explain the story, firstly by stating what was the situation. That's assuming you were like a marketing coordinator. The situation in the past was you need to reach to increase the impression by 200%. That just exaggerated a little bit. And currently, you have lots of difficulties because there's nothing established. So the task is to reach that goal. You're going to create 5 campaigns in total. What did you do? You have group meetings. You initiate a talk with your boss. What you have done to contribute to this whole project. And finally, what's the result? At the end of the year, you actually make that happen. Your website, your company website reached 200% impression compared to last year. So after the employer, let's say the interviewer, hear the whole story, they will know you're capable of doing this kind of task. And they may think if you come to our company, similar values you will bring to this company. So you make it relevant and easy to understand to the employer. All our employer will ask this question first. Tell me about yourself, because they learn about you from the resume, but they don't really know you as a person. So you want to get this chance to create the best first impression as possible with those 3S strategy: success, strengths, and situation. Success is what you are really good at, something that's unique to you, and you are really proud of yourself. Strengths, hard skills, soft skills, something you already equipped and you can bring over. Situation similar to the STAR format situation, but a little different. This situation is you want to make sure your skills, your personality, your person can be all the things you can bring, you already brought to your past company, can be transferable to the new company in a new setting. And this is what we mean by situation. Third, be ready to clarify your selling point. We have lots of student candidates who are from the same school, same major. What makes the employer choose you over your classmates? It's your past experience, your attitude. Same for our clients from, let's say, the Philippines, from China, from other countries. Why does our employer want to choose you over your colleagues, over other people? It's the values you can bring and the experience, the person. And think about what's unique about yourself. Take notes. Sometimes people think I should present the most genuine self to the employer. This is true, but not 100% because the interview is to present the best self. You don't want to present every part, even the weakness. You can say the weakness in a good way, but you always want to present the best self in front of the employer. Last but not least, practice as much as possible. We CSI usually do like a mock interview for you. This is a practice, but if you feel it's not enough, practice with your partner, with the mirror even. Try to practice your script, and whenever you're confident with yourself, you will nail the interview later on for sure. And that's everything we want to cover for the interview part. Now let's assume you did super well and the employer wants to hire you. This is what we want to really remind you of. How can you keep the job? Getting the job is just a start. It's not the end of the green card. All your performance, your attitude determines whether the employer will be able to sponsor you until the end. And here are the things we want to remind you whenever you start this new job. Firstly, you want to know your daily responsibility. It can be really overwhelming. You have so many things on your plate you need to finish. Take notes of how much time you spend for each task so you know your capacity. And you will know over time how much you grow for each kind of task. Secondly, learn your manager's expectation. Standard in your home country could be a lot different than the standard in the US. After you finish a task, submit it, ask for feedback so that you can improve next time. Thirdly, make your calendar. Some industry experience like busy seasons such as tax season or other seasons. You need to make sure yourself is firstly not overwhelmed by your current task and maybe still available for extra tasks, so you are showing your proactive attitude. But how do you know that? After you know your responsibility, you know how much time you need for each task. That's whenever you're going to be responsible to tell your boss, yes, I can take more, or no, I need some time for this task. This demonstrate cultural sensitivity is a new thing we add on this slide. You may not heard about it before, but we understand everyone here comes from like a different background. You may come from Asia, come from Africa, from Europe. But here in America is super diverse, which means some of the topics can be super sensitive, such as religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, appearance. All those things, if you're making a comment, it can sound really unprofessional, and you may even get sued for that. I'm being serious. Like if a normal joke in your culture can be something really offensive in America. Be careful with your wordings. We have a case. Actually, we have some case, not just one case. Getting a report from the employer. Our candidate was doing well, super good as a performance, but just about his words. His colleague want him to get terminated because of the words. And the boss, as the owner of the company, if he or she doesn't take action, it shows they are not being inclusive. So they need to take some actions. Fortunately, CSI was able to save him, but we don't want a similar situation happen to any of our current clients or our new clients. So be careful about your words. Something that's a joke can be something offensive here. Make sure the boundary, where is the boundary? Last but not least, be proactive. We don't doubt anyone will be not proactive for the first 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, but as I mentioned, this whole green card journey can take a few years, maybe. We want you to be proactive as long as possible because that's all we need to get sponsorship, to get petition. Show your employer you're a good employee and you're worth the sponsorship. All right. This topic is usually designed for our student candidates who are, let's say, still having a program in the US, but let's say it's also going to be really helpful for your case if you are looking for other kind of opportunities on your own. Normally for our local candidates who already like a green card holder or US citizens, what they need to do is just to review the resume, apply for the position, attend the interview, and hopefully get an offer. That's it. I believe that's the same process if you're doing in your home country. But since we are non-immigrants, we don't have the priority. To make it more clear, we cannot replace the locals from getting a job. If we are sharing the same background, same quality as a local, companies will choose the local because choosing you means uncertain, not just so much uncertainty, costly because sponsorship costs money. There's too many factors that may stop the employer from choosing you. So what we recommend you to do is firstly trying to go for the website, like h1bgrader.com. It will show you all the companies that are certified for sponsorship. If you don't know this yet, not every company in the US are certified to do the sponsorship. So instead of sending all the applications to different companies, only target the ones that are going to reply to you, or at least have a higher chance to reply to you. Search for the relevant job title, depending on your background, your major, and your work experience. Search for titles because those titles will help you to find the companies who do this sponsorship. And lastly, send out the resume with a cover letter if required. If not, just send out the resume and wait for the result. Currently, it's quite hard from my experience, like my friend's experience. He sent out 700 emails, applications. Fortunately, there are like 10 or 20 people, like companies to apply to it. Okay. But just to give you like an idea, it's really hard for like non-immigrants to apply jobs. And this is why CSI wants to make this whole process a little bit easier for everyone here. All right, that's a lot of content. Take a break, and we'll get to the actual immigration part. It's a 10-minute break, so use the restroom. If you need water, let me know, and we will resume on this green card process after the break. All right? For our Zoom attendees, please join us back in the next 10 minutes. Thank you. So Miss Marge ordered some treats for everyone. Use a hand sanitizer and have some face gel. Hi, every room attendees. We're going to start very soon in the next 2 minutes. Thank you. Miguel and Anamika, are you both here?
Yes, Yinjie, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, so we'll resume our session now. And let me introduce our team from abroad right now. This is going to be here and here. Miguel, if you can turn on your camera, that would be really nice. We can just introduce you real quick. Or do you want to give us a brief introduction about who you are before we start?
Okay. So hi everyone. So my name is Miguel. I'm currently joining from the Philippines, and I've been working in the company CSI Professionals for 1 year now. So it was nice meeting you all, and I hope to for you to learn more about our services. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Miguel. And we'll start the second part, which is the most important part, how we can get the green card. Miguel, you may start anytime. Oh, that's nice.
Miss Anamika.
Hi, Miguel. Hi, Yinjie. Let me start this. Just give me about a minute.
Okay, sure. Whenever you're ready, you can turn on the camera and we can start. This seminar is slightly different than our normal seminar because, as probably most people are aware of, we have the H1B coming in March, really soon. Once in a while chance, not once in a while, once in a year chance. If we miss this March registration, all we can do if you want to do H1B is next March. That's why we slightly twist the order. We want to focus on H1B, all the information, all the focus, and then we'll talk about other visa options. Because maybe you already know H1B is running on a lottery system. If you get it, congratulations. If you don't get it, don't panic. We still have backup plan B, and we want you to be aware of those two.
Thank you, Yinjie. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anamika. And now we'll go through the second part of the seminar, which is more focused on the immigration. So here we will cover the 4 topics or the 3 topics that you can see on your screens. The first is the H1B explanation and strategy. Here I will talk about what the H1B visa is, then the process of H1B visa, and also the H1B strategy. The H1B strategy is what CSI tells our clients how they should prepare their timeline if they are aiming for the H1B visa for a specific fiscal year. The second is the H1B backup visa options. So in case your H1B lottery is not selected for a specific fiscal year, what other backup visa or backup work visa options do you have? The last topic is the 3 steps to the green card. Here we will go into the details of what are the steps to green card that are conducted at the USCIS's end throughout your journey to the green card. At the end, we will open the portal for our audience to ask us any questions. So if you have any questions, we request you to keep them with you till the end of the seminar. We do have some frequently asked questions in between also that may also answer some of your questions. But for those questions that are not answered, we request you to keep it till the end. And at the end, my colleagues and I will be available to answer any questions, both for our Zoom attendees as well as the in-person attendees. So let's go ahead and start this part of the seminar. The first is H1B explanation and strategy. Visa is a specialty occupation visa. It's a work visa. What this means is that you have to have a specialty in the job field that you're currently or that you'll be working with in the United States. Now, that specialty could be in terms of an educational experience. So, the minimum requirement for you to work under an H-1B visa in the United States is to have a bachelor's degree or an equivalent work experience. An equivalent work experience in the United States means 1 year of your degree equals 3 years of work experience in that field. So, say you are applying for a job as an accountant in the US, and you, your friend, or your family have completed only 3 years of bachelor's degree against the standard 4 years that is in the United States. But you also have 3 years of work experience in the field of accounting, whether in the US or in any other country. Combine these two, that makes you eligible to apply for an H-1B visa because 3 years of degree and 3 years of work experience equals 1 year of degree. Combine it, it makes up for the 4 years of bachelor's degree, which is the minimum requirement. So that is the eligibility for the H-1B. The second most important feature of the H-1B visa is the duration. The duration for an H-1B visa is 3 years, and it is extendable to another 3 years. Now, following this, we will look at the H-1B process. There are other work visa options also available in the US. What sets H-1B apart from other work visas are two main features. The first is that the H-1B is available on a lottery basis. And the second is that there is a timeline that the USCIS follows when it comes to the H-1B. So here in this flowchart, we will cover these two aspects of the H-1B. The flowchart shows you how your journey goes through as you move through the process of H-1B during a particular fiscal year. So the first step is the registration. So your employer files the H-1B registration for you. The USCIS opens the H-1B registration every fiscal year in the month of March. Unlike the other work visas, where your employer can file for your work visa during any time of the year, this does not happen in case of H-1B. The H-1B process starts with a registration first, not filing, and that registration happens in the month of March every fiscal year. After your employer has registered you with the USCIS, the USCIS will go ahead and close the registration. Once they have closed the registration, they will have the list of all the prospective individuals who applied for the H-1B, that means who are currently working under a US employer and are interested in H-1B for that fiscal year. From these list of candidates, the USCIS conducts a round of lottery. So they randomly pick candidates to select for the H-1B for that fiscal year. So after the registration, you can either get selected in the lottery or you cannot get selected in the lottery. If you are not selected, then you move to the reserve pool. If you are selected, then your employer proceeds with the case processing. The case processing is basically filing of the case, preparing your case file and filing it with the USCIS. The USCIS gives the employer 3 months of time after the announcement of the result to file the case with the USCIS. After the USCIS has received your file, they will review it and they can come to 3 decisions on your file. They can approve your case, subject it for RFE, which is request for further evidence, or they can deny your case. If your case is approved, then all is good and you can start your H-1B. If they subject it for RFE, which is request for further evidence, that means the USCIS reviewed your file. They were not satisfied with the evidence that was provided to them. and they want further evidence to strengthen your case. In that case, the USCIS will provide your employer with the list of documents and a specified time. Your employer will provide them with those added documents, and from there, the USCIS, after reviewing your file again, can approve your case or the third decision, which is denial. In case the USCIS denies a case for any employee in the US, they will not be able to proceed with the H-1B. For our clients, however, we would like to share that we have a high approval rate for the H-1B. And even those candidates who were ever denied the H-1B, we have tried to investigate or try to understand why they were denied and re-appealed with the USCIS, their H-1B case. Now, the reserve pool. For those candidates who were not selected in the first round of lottery for the H-1B, they move to the reserve pool. So from the candidates who were selected, some do not proceed with the case processing because maybe they moved to a different country or they changed their employer. The ones who do proceed forward also may also be mailed the denial notice. So those lotteries who were initially selected but did not go through become freshly available with the USCIS. And the USCIS conducts consecutive rounds of lotteries throughout the year and picks candidates from the reserve pool to fill in those vacancies. That is why we tell our clients to not lose hope, even if you're not selected in the first round of lottery, because the USCIS has been known to conduct consecutive rounds of lotteries throughout the year. So this is the H-1B flowchart, your registration, then selection, and the case processing. Next, we will look at the H-1B timeline. Unlike the other work visas, the USCIS designates a specific timeline for the H-1B every fiscal year. This, what you see on your screens right now, is the H-1B timeline for this year, 2023. That means the H-1B 2023-2024 visa. So for this year, the USCIS has announced that the registration will begin on March 1st, noon Eastern time. So that means the registration system is an online portal, and the USCIS will open it on March 1st for the US employers. The end date or the registration closing date is March 18th. So the US employers have 18 days from March 1st to March 18th to register all their prospective employees who are interested in H-1B for this fiscal year. Now, March 31st is the date by when the USCIS will announce the first round of lottery. It's important to note that the USCIS does not announce all the results on one day. They space it over a week or 10 days. But the first day that they will let out a list of candidates who have been selected for the first round of lottery will be March 31st. And those candidates who were announced on March 31st, the earliest that their employer can start the case processing is April 1st. Then August 2nd is what the USCIS has announced to be the second round of lottery if they still have seats available with them. And November 22nd, the USCIS will conduct the third round of lottery this fiscal year. So this is the H-1B timeline for 2023 or the H-1B 2024 visa timeline. We can move to the next slide. So based on the timeline that is provided by USCIS that we just discussed, CSI has prepared a strategy timeline for our clients who are interested for H-1B. So a lot of our clients ask us what is the right time to come to the United States, what is the right time to start working with an employer, so that they do not miss their chance at the H-1B lottery for one fiscal year. If your employer does not register you in the month of March for the H-1B, then you cannot apply for the H-1B for this fiscal year. Then you are only eligible to apply for the next fiscal year. And that is why a strategy timeline is very important for those prospective individuals who are looking for an H-1B in the United States. So this is the strategy timeline on your screen. The first stage is placement, December 2022 to January 2023. So we suggest our clients to start their training or at least start their interview process and their training during the month of December 2022 and January 2023. So that means we expect you to be in the United States in the month of December, January already. This is because you have to understand that you should work with your employer for some duration, enough so that they trust you to sponsor you for a work visa. Any work visa in the United States is available because an employer has sponsored you for it. An employer only sponsors those candidates whom they know they can trust, who will contribute to their company. So for that, you have to maintain a relationship, build a relationship with your employer. And that is why we suggest that you start as early as December and January. If you are looking for jobs or if you want to learn more, we also suggest to start as early as October to a lot of our clients. Then given that you've started working in the month of December and January, January and February is when we collect the documentation. So at CSI, we make sure that we collect all your documentation and keep it ready with us in case your lottery is selected and we have to move forward with the case filing. So the process of documentation happens in the month of January and February. Then March is your registration. So if all goes well, your employer will register you for the H-1B lottery for that fiscal year. And March 31st, as I mentioned earlier, is also when the results will be announced. So say after the results are announced and your lottery is selected, in April, your employer, CSI, will have a meeting with you and we will discuss how to move forward from there. So this is the H-1B strategy timeline that we suggest for our clients. Now we have a set of 5 quick questions related to H-1B. These have been picked based on a lot of questions that we have received from our clients in the past regarding H-1B. So the first question is, does DOL wage level 1 still work? What this client was trying to ask was that given the current recession and the situation in US economy, are US employers still looking for foreign workers? Which is a very valid question because this is one thing that all of us think about. How is the economy affecting your job chances in the US? To answer your question, the US employers are still looking for foreign workers. Because if there is a recession, if there is a financial crunch, that means the companies are looking for employees who are very efficient, employees who can get more done for them. And the immigrants are known to be hardworking. The immigrants are known to be dedicated. So as long as you maintain a strong work ethic, you always have a place in the US workforce. The second question is, what is the final date for getting not selected status of lottery result? As I mentioned, once your employer has registered you for the H-1B lottery, if you are selected, you get the selected status. If you are not selected, you get the reserved status. So a lot of other clients ask, when do we know for sure that we are not selected for the H-1B for that fiscal year? Now, the answer to this question is, this happens whenever the USCIS announces on their page that the H-1B cap has been reached for that fiscal year. So the USCIS's announcement page is monitored by CSI throughout the year. And till the time the USCIS does not announce that the cap has been reached, that means they still have visas that are there for allotment. So you still have a chance in consecutive lotteries for the H-1B. But as soon as the USCIS announces that the cap has been reached, then you will then there are no possible lotteries for that fiscal year. So if your lottery hasn't already been selected, then the only other scenario for you is to apply next year. And this we inform our clients through email. So just make sure that you look out for any email that comes along from CSI. We will be sure to update you regarding the USCIS's announcement page. Then, excuse me. Then the third question, can I verify H-1B lottery registration online on my own? So as I mentioned, the first step is the H-1B lottery registration, which your employer does for you. Now, the H1 for before we submit the H1B registration, we submit to our clients a form where they can provide us with all the details that we will eventually put in the registration system. So you cannot verify the registration online on your own, but whatever goes on the registration portal is what we already ask you to fill in the form. So for our clients, it's important that you fill in the form properly, and rest you can trust CSI with the process after that. Now we'll move on to the last two questions. The fourth question, how to improve the chances of H-1B lottery selection and approvals? Is this relevant considering that lottery is a game of chance? So as I just mentioned, H-1B is selected on the basis of a lottery system. A lot of our clients want to know, can they do anything to enhance their chances at the lottery? A direct answer to this question is no. Lottery is a game of chance. So you cannot do, once the registration has been submitted, you cannot do anything to enhance your chances at the lottery. But there are two important points that I want to highlight with respect to this question. The first is the H-1B timeline. So while H-1B is a system of lottery, but a lot of our clients, they may also miss registering for H-1B just because they did not start their employment in time. So the one way to enhance your chances at lottery is to appear for the lottery. So make sure you, your family, or any friend who is interested in H-1B, that they know the timeline for H-1B. So since the registration happens in March, it's important that you start looking for an employer already, maybe by the month of October, November. Start your interview and start training with the employer already by the month of December and January, so that you're in time for the H-1B registration. The second point that we would like to highlight is that when the USCIS conducts a lottery, there are two pools. One is a regular pool and one is a master's pool. The regular pool is all the candidates who have a bachelor's degree in their field of expertise, and the master's pool is all those candidates who have a master's degree in that field. Now, for those candidates who have a master's degree, they have a special, or they have a separate, or you can say another round of lottery. So if you, your family, or a friend has a master's degree, their lottery will be selected from the regular pool as well as from the master's pool. So this gives them two chances at the H-1B lottery, and that is how their chances for getting an H-1B lottery are enhanced. But apart from that, there is nothing else that you can do about the lottery once your registration has been submitted with the USCIS. Now, the final question, the fifth question, if I am a student with OPT not used, can I be part of the application? How should I use my OPT if I am going for H-1B? This is asked by some of our student clients who are on a student visa or an F1 visa in the United States. So the answer to this question is, you cannot be on two visas simultaneously in the US. You can only be on one visa. So as long as you are on your F1 visa and working under the OPT, which is the work permit on the student visa, you continue being on F1 OPT. If your H1B lottery is selected and after the case processing it is approved, then you move from the F1 visa to the H1B visa. But till the time your H1B registration is ongoing and the lottery selection and the filing process is ongoing, you should be in the United States on a valid work permit or a valid work visa. So if you are a student in the US on an F1 visa and you graduate in the month of December 2022, it is suggested that you start your working on your OPT because if, the timeline for H1B is October 2023 or October every fiscal year. So from January all the way up till September 30th, you have to have a valid work permit. So you should start working on your OPT. So to answer this question, yes, if you are a student with an OPT not used, you can be a part of the application, and you should already start working with your on your OPT while your H1B process is ongoing. So those are all the questions, and that also completes our topic 1 for this part of the seminar. Next, topic 2, H1B backup visa options, is what my colleague Miguel will explain to you.
Thank you, Anamika, for explaining what H1B is, as well as our strategy when it comes to um, our candidates can acquire one. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miguel. And as mentioned earlier by my colleague Anamika, I will discuss the second topic under the roadmap to green card, which would be the H1B backup visa options. So before I start, all you all need to have to take into consideration is that registering for an H1B visa does not guarantee that you could acquire one. So results are given by chance. That is why it is called an H1 visa lottery. But of course, you don't need to worry as there are several visa options to choose from, which will serve as your backup plan. You can choose from one from this slide. So we have B2 for tourist visa, F1 student exchange visa, J1 which would be the professional exchange visa, and H3 which would be the non-immigrant trainee visa. I will briefly discuss it one by one. So first we have B2 visa or tourist visa. Next slide please. Okay. So B2 visa is a non-working visa, which means that you are not eligible to work in the US and receive a salary. Most of our clients start with B2 visa and then transition to other working visas, which I'm going to discuss later on. As the name implies, the purpose of this visa is to have leisure time in the US. For you to be eligible to have this visa, you are required to file a non-immigrant visa application or the form 160. As for the duration, B2 visa only lasts for 6 months, but it is extendable to another 6 months. So when you are currently in your B2 visa status, you can definitely prolong your stay in the US through B2 visa extension. However, just like what I've mentioned earlier, being a B2 visa holder does not allow you to work, thus, of course, receive a salary. But the good thing about B2 visa extension is that long as you prolong your stay in the US, you can now have the time to assess your application to your transition to other working visa that I've previously mentioned, including the H1B visa status. So that is all for the first backup option. So the next backup option is the F1 visa or the student visa. Next slide, please. Okay. So as the name implies, the F1 visa are for our student candidates. So the purpose of this visa is for you to enroll and study in the US. You should also take in mind that you must be enrolled in the USCIS accredited university or educational institute in the US to pursue your studies in a specific field. This visa option also enables you to work and gain salary in the US. The duration of an F1 visa depends on the degree program you choose from, but it is usually issued for 5 years. But in theory, it is valid for unlimited time as long as you can keep applying for different degree programs in the US. Although it is not advisable to do this as the tuition cost in the US is quite expensive, but yes, this is still a viable option and to extend your stay here in the US if other visa option won't work for you. The only condition for this visa option is for you to enroll on a gradient basis. So if you are done with your bachelor's, you opt to enroll in a master's degree program. And if you're done with your master's, then you can enroll in a PhD program or in another master's degree in a different field. So, as shown in this slide, these are the various steps that you must take after getting an F1 visa. And when your degree is about to end, you have to switch to either H1B or your employer can start your labor certification sponsorship procedure. Next slide, please. Okay. Now there are two training programs that you can have as a F1 visa holder: the CPT or the curricular practical training, and the OPT, which stands for optional practical training. The curricular practical training or CPT is for students who are actively studying. From a CPT program, a student is authorized to work to receive school credits. Since CPT is curricular based program, the job position that are available for you is fixed. While for the optional practical training or OPT, it is completed before or after graduation. So we have pre OPT and post OPT respectively. And this program is valid for about 12 months or year, 1 year. So for our student candidates here, it is advisable for you to use your CPT during your internship program to get some school credits, and then use your OPT after you graduate. So this maximizes the time to prolong your stay in the US. And for our STEM students here, OPT can be extended to another 24 months. Okay, now let's proceed with the next backup option, which would be the J1 or the Professional Exchange Program visa. So the purpose of a J1 visa is for the visa holder to have a professional training under an employer. The duration of J1 is up to 18 months and it is non-extendable. As shown in this slide, these are the step-by-step procedure for your J1 program. So for the first step, it is required for you to have your own bachelor's degree or an equivalent work experience. An equivalent work experience means that 1 year of a degree is equivalent to 3 years worth of work experience. So let's say if you have a family or a friend who has completed 3 years of bachelor's degree instead of the standard 4 years in the US, they would need to have another 3 years of work experience in that specific field. So they could be eligible to apply for a J1 visa. And after this, the next step would be the sponsorship from an accredited US company. So it is worth noting that not all employers in the US are eligible to sponsor a working visa for immigrant applicants. Now, it is very fortunate that our partner companies are all accredited by the USCIS, which means they are eligible to sponsor um, foreign candidates to have their respective working visa. Although if you yourself wanted to apply to a specific company, you have to make sure that the company is eligible to sponsor a working visa first. After having the sponsorship, we can now proceed with documentation and filing. So once the employer wants to change your current visa status into a working visa, they will begin the documentation and filing for that specific visa. So for J1 visa, it will take about 1 to 3 months. And after being approved by the USCIS, your program will begin. And again, it will only last for 18 months. When the time period When the time period is about to end, you can either apply to another working visa, as shown in this slide, to prolong your stay here in the US. Or you have the option to go home. Now, for the last backup option, we have the H3 visa, or much known as the non-immigrant trainee visa. So similar to J1 visa, H3 visa holders are to receive a professional training under an employer in the US, and it is non-extendable as well. Now, major difference between the two is that the duration of H3 is only valid for 18 to 24 months. And for the second one is its requirements. So for H3 visa, the training you are about to receive in the US should not be available in your home country. So how we arrange this is that we find a much advanced training program related to your field that is inaccessible again in your home country. Other than that, the eligibility in terms of, let's say, experience, the documentation and filing period, as well as the waiting time for the USCIS approval, is much or very similar to what I've discussed earlier for J1 visa. So next slide, please. Okay, so here is a quick summary and overview of your respective backup visa options. So that is all for the second topic. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope that you have learned a thing or two. I will now pass the stage to one of my colleagues from the office. They will discuss the last topic for this seminar, which would be the 3 steps to green card.
Thank you, Miguel, for giving us all the information regarding the visa status. This is quite important because we can start the green card honestly anytime past probationary and you have the visa to work. So, but whenever we actually on the process, you want to keep your status active. So this whole process, 3 4 years, as it might not be enough. And this is why we're trying to emphasize H1B might be your best option, or if not H1B this year, maybe J1 first, F1 later. But this is why we want to spend so much time on the visa option. For now, let's get to the last part, which is the green card. Just keep with me a little bit more. We're almost done. This is the last part. And just another side note.
Hi, Yinjie and everybody. Sorry to interrupt. Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Marge. Good afternoon, everyone. I just cannot speak on right now in person so that I won't echo too much. I'm just in the other room. But let me just reiterate a little bit on what was mentioned regarding H1B. H1B is the most ideal job-based or employment-based petition and category. Now, the only downside and challenge that we would face is that H1B is always in a lottery process. So, meaning your chances are not as great as the other work-based petition. So if you won't meet or if you won't be chosen and eventually not approved on a certain fiscal year, you will have your chance again the following year until such time that your application gets chosen and be adjudicated and get a favorable result, which is an approval. Now, the rest of the visa categories or the work-based petition are the J1, the F1 with OPT and CPT, and all the rest. Now, these are all backup categories or work-based petition. Now, the labor cert, it was discussed with a flow chart or with a process and the journey to get your ultimate American dream. It was also mentioned by Yinjie just now that labor cert can be applied at any time. Well, if you are, let me give a perfect example, because we have right now all visa categories are represented. Everyone present on Zoom and in-person candidates are either F1, J1, and some are already starting, or we have started their labor cert process to eventually achieve their green card. Now, remember, while it is correct that we could start the process at any time, because it starts with the Department of Labor, not U.S. Immigration. Remember that labor cert is company petition and a specific company petition. Therefore, first and foremost, we need to make sure that you are satisfying and performing with above par evaluation with the specific company you are assigned to. It's not an automatic request or an automatic procedure and a responsibility by the employer to continue on with the labor cert if the beneficiary is also not performing as expected or above average. So it is company dependent. If we are applying for EB3, EB2, in terms of category in labor cert, it is always company dependent. Now, the good news is for all of those who are monitoring all our testimonials, our client interviews, you probably saw how many in every month, especially last year or the last couple of years, that we've been receiving approvals on our green card application for various categories and positions, from marketing, management, accounting, so on and so forth, and all other eligible positions. Whether it's EB3 or EB2, we've been quite successful. In fact, I would say 99%. So that's very, very high, especially for the last couple of years. All of those.
Miss Marge, you're cut off. Can you hear me?
Okay, see, I've lost you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Marge.
Okay. I think I got disconnected for a minute, but nonetheless, with emphasis, I didn't want to interrupt as much for now, but just in emphasis, what we are just trying to say is that there is a pathway to your American dream, from whether you're starting as a student to a to H1B as a specialty occupation, and moving on to labor cert as a green card through labor certification, achieving a green card process, and ultimately receiving your green. Okay, it keeps on disconnecting. Don't know why, but nonetheless, that's probably my own connection. So I will let Miguel or Anamika continue on. And then if there are specific questions, I will enter the room personally and answer your questions.
Miguel, are you with us?
Is Miss Marge now? Just now? Okay. So I guess Miss Marge gave a lot of information regarding this whole process.
I will.
Very helpful. Can you hear me, Miss Marge?
I will be entering. I'm sorry. Yes,
Do you
I
want to
can
join
hear
us
you.
in
I will
person?
be entering the room shortly. I'll be entering in the next. You can continue on with the presentation, and then I will enter the room to answer questions towards the end.
Miss Marge, you're cutting off quite frequently right now.
Yinjie, I will type in my message.
Okay, meanwhile, let's just continue on the seminar. Almost finished. So let's get the last part. Miss Marge gave a lot of information here, but if you're following step by step, there's 3 steps in total. The first thing is labor certification. This part has nothing to do with immigration. This part is what we do to secure you a position. Remember, we are talking about we cannot replace the local workers, and this is a part. So what will happen is the employer will file the prevailing wage and all the documents to the Department of Labor. Of course, we'll work with them. The immigration lawyer will also help us too. But it will take the Department of Labor to process a while. It can be a year, sometimes it can be a bit longer, depending how fast they process. But while they're processing, we also need to give the locals a chance. How do we get this chance? We advertise your position online. It can be social media, it can be website, it can be anywhere, but we'll give them a chance. Don't worry if there's going to be a local interview for the position, because we know you are the only fit for this position. So even they interview, we won't accept them. And we give them a chance, the Department of Labor also process it, and hopefully we get approved, and we can move to the next step, which is I-140, and last step, I-485. The reason I'm giving really fast here, it's not like there's not much to do. It looks very simple, 3 steps, but it takes quite a few years. The reason I'm getting really fast here is because everyone's situation could be a lot different. You're not just petitioning for yourself, maybe you have a family, maybe you are doing some other things. So whenever we get to the green card, let's say the labor process, we'll have you to come to our office again, discuss everything in detail, and depending on your case, we will plan out the next step. But overall, those are the things that will be shared for everyone. Labor certification first, I-140 and I-485. What does I-140 mean? What does I-485 matter? Let me get you this chart so you will get a better idea. I-140 is fine, but whenever it comes to I-485, it's the last step. Depending on which country you're coming from, there could be a waiting time. And this is what we call the current priority dates. You're always welcome to check directly on the USCIS website. It's updated every month. The chart you're seeing right now is the current priority date for February. How you can read this chart, let me teach you real quick. You see the employment base, and this is what Ms. Marge was meaning, EB, EB2, EB3, that's what we are doing. The second category and third category, employment-based petition. EB2 means we're using your master degree to help you get a green card. EB3 is a bachelor degree. That's the difference here. Sometimes it's better to use EB2, sometimes better to use EB3, depending on which country you're coming from. Now let's take Philippines as an example. C means current, which means the time we file everything to the USCIS is the time they're going to do the processing. So now we see all the dates here. Let's say Philippines, EB2 second category, it's 01 November 2022. What it means is what they're processing right now are the cases that were submitted back in 2022, November 1st. So there's a slight backlog. It was all current for the past 2 years, but there's some backlog starting, and we hope this backlog can, recover soon. But for our India candidates, as you see, there's all backlog, almost every categories. Let's take an example. Let's say if we help a candidate who wants to stay here, gets a green card, we do EB2, the second category. For India, it's 08 October 2011. So people who submit their I-485 application back in 2011 are now just getting processed. So it's a 12 years backlog. Super crazy. we don't want to discourage anyone from India, of course, but just keep in mind, this chart update every month. We see changes fluctuate all the time. Give you a good example for Philippines, it used to be 6 years ago. Now we're almost current for most cases. Starting again, that's why we always encourage our clients, the best time is now, because you don't know what will happen in the future. The earlier you start, the faster the process could be. And for India, who knows in the next 3 years, maybe change the president, maybe something happen. The whole thing can be a lot faster too. So never lose hope and always communicate with us on the latest news. And that will conclude all the seminar. And we'll open the floor to everyone. Before we actually end this, if I don't mind, but Jeremy, we're going to have a small testimony with you. Yeah, just give a small background, but like Ms. Marge saying, we always have approvals every month, and we invite all clients to our meetings, like giving us a small testimonial. But Jeremy just got a recent approvals on one of the case, and we may do a small testimonial with you, asking about your experience with us so far.
So for the new people here, I was like you last year. I mean, early Feb, I had my first interview around the second week of February. First day was like the last week of Feb, and then by around I think August or September, the talks of the J1 visa was going through. I got RFP'd around November, and then the RFP got through this January, and then I think I just got the approval last week Thursday. The RFP, CSI sent the RFP for my J1 last week Tuesday, and then 2 days after the approval came by mail. That's it.
Thank you so much. But how do you feel about when you first started with the job? Do you find any challenges, or is there some tips you want to give?
Since my job from the Philippines was really different what my job is currently now, I work in the warehouse of company.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I work in the warehouse of Royale. I went from being a video editor to the keying department of Royale, which is a whole lot different.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of adaptation and also adjusting, and we're really glad that you got your approval. And that means that for the next 18 months, we're going to be fine. And hopefully, if we get H1B either this year or next year, your whole process will be a lot more stable. And we just need to wait for the process. Congratulations again, Jeremy. All right, let me double check if we have any questions. All right, so that's the actual last part.